I was about 8 years old when this happened. We had just moved into a new house at the edge of our street. It was an older house and the floors were made of wood, and they creaked when you walked on them. My room was on the ground floor, right next to the back door. I never liked sleeping on the ground floor because I always felt too close to the outside, too close to whatever was out there in the dark. Our house had a crawl space underneath it. I didn't even know what a crawl space was back then. My dad explained it to me one time. He said it was just an empty space between the bottom of the house and the ground. He said old houses had them. He said nothing lived down there except maybe bugs. I didn't like the sound of that either, but I tried to forget about it. Then one night I woke up and heard something. It was a scratching sound, like something dragging across wood. It was coming from underneath my floor, right underneath my bed almost. I lay completely still and listened. It went on for about a minute and then it stopped. I told myself it was the house settling. My dad always said old houses make noises. They settle and creak and pop and you just have to get used to it. But the next night it happened again. This time it was louder, not just scratching, more like something shifting, like a heavy thing being moved slowly across the ground. I pulled my blanket up to my chin and stared at the ceiling in the dark. I didn't move. I didn't sleep that night at all. In the morning, I told my mom. She said it was probably a raccoon or a possum that found a way under the house. She said it happened sometimes in old houses. She didn't seem worried at all. I felt a little better after that. Animals. That made sense, but then I started noticing other things. There was a small vent on the outside of the house, right at ground level, next to the back door. It was just a metal cover with slats in it. One morning, I walked past it and the cover was pushed out a little. Not all the way off, just slightly bent outward like something had pushed it from the inside. I showed my dad. He looked at it for a second and said an animal probably pushed it trying to get out. He pushed it back into place and said he would seal it later. He never did. A few days after that, I was playing in the backyard and I found a plastic water bottle near the vent. It was half full. I picked it up and brought it inside and showed it to my mom. She said someone probably threw it over the fence from the alley. Our backyard backed up to an alley, so that seemed possible. She threw it in the trash. I started to feel like something was off. I couldn't explain it. I was just a kid, but something in my stomach kept telling me that the sounds weren't an animal. Animals don't move like that. Animals scratch and scurry and run. Whatever was under my floor moved slow and deliberate, like it was trying not to be heard. One night I woke up and it wasn't just sounds this time. There was a smell, like cigarette smoke, drifting up through the floor vent in my room. The floor vent was just a small metal grate in the corner of my room that connected to the space below. I had never paid attention to it before. I got out of bed and crouched down next to it, and I could feel air coming up from below, warm air, and the smell of smoke was strong. I went to my parents' room and woke my mom up. She came to my room and sniffed the air. She said she didn't smell anything. She said I was probably dreaming. She walked me back to bed and sat with me for a little while, and then she left. I lay there, and the smell slowly faded, and I eventually fell asleep. 2 nights later, I woke up to a different sound. It wasn't scratching or shifting. It was breathing, low and slow and close, coming from right below the grate in the corner of my room. I couldn't move. My whole body went stiff with fear. I stared at the grate in the dark and could not make myself look away from it. And then I saw them, a pair of eyes looking up through the slats of the grate from the darkness below, just the eyes, catching the moonlight coming through my window. I screamed so loud my throat hurt. My parents both came running. My dad ran outside to check the vent. My mom held me and I was shaking and couldn't stop. I told her about the eyes. She thought I had a nightmare. My dad came back inside and said he didn't see anything. He said the vent cover was in place, but the next morning my dad went outside again in the daylight and looked more carefully. He got a flashlight. He shone the light through the vent into the crawl space. Then he went very quiet. He stood up slowly and told my mom to take me inside the house right now. He said it in a voice I had never heard from him before, calm but tight, like he was trying very hard to stay calm. There were blankets in the crawl space, a pile of them, folded up neat in the corner, and next to them was an empty tin can full of cigarette butts and a water bottle, the same kind as the one I found in the yard. The police came. They searched but found no one. They never found out who it was or how long they had been under there. I have never lived in a ground floor room since. I lived in a very old, creaky house when I was 7 years old. The house was at the end of a long, narrow road, surrounded by thick trees that blocked out most of the sunlight. My bedroom was the strangest part of that house. It wasn't really designed to be a bedroom. It was more of an odd, leftover space at the top of the stairs, right next to the entrance to the dark, dusty attic. My room had a giant closet. This closet was special, but not in a good way. It was built high up, like a little wooden loft. To get inside, you had to climb 3 steep, creaky wooden steps. The door was a heavy, old-fashioned sliding door. Inside, the space was stuffed with forgotten boxes, broken lamps, and piles of toys left behind by the people who lived there long before us. I hated that closet. It felt like a giant, hungry mouth waiting to open. At night, the house was silent and cold. Being so far away from my parents' bedroom downstairs made me feel very small, vulnerable, and completely alone. I used to stare at that closet door until my eyes burned, terrified that something would reach out from the shadows. One Friday night, we sat in the living room and watched a scary movie together. It was a mistake. My young mind was already filled with fear, and the movie only made it worse. After it ended, I went upstairs to sleep. The house felt different that night, heavy, dark, and filled with strange, shifting shadows. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to be brave and telling myself that monsters weren't real. Suddenly, I heard it. It sounded like a small plastic toy hitting the wooden floor inside the closet. My heart started beating fast, like a drum in my chest. I jumped out of bed and ran downstairs as fast as my legs could carry me, straight to my parents' room. I told them someone was in my closet, moving things around. They looked tired and annoyed. They told me I had a big imagination and that I was just scared because of the movie. But they saw how pale I was, so they let me sleep on their bedroom floor that night. The next night, I tried to be extra brave. I stayed in my room, burying my head under the covers. Everything was quiet for a long time. Then I heard it again. It sounded like a giant, heavy bucket of Legos had been tipped over on purpose. Hundreds of plastic pieces were hitting the wooden floor of the closet. I scrambled out of bed and ran to my parents again. My dad was finished with the excuses. "Enough," he said, his voice firm. "There is no one in that closet. It is an old house. Pipes rattle and wood settles. Go to sleep." The next morning, my mom came upstairs with me. We opened the closet door. My stomach dropped into my shoes. There was a huge, messy pile of Legos spilled across the floor. They were definitely not there the day before. I had organized them neatly. My mom frowned, but she didn't look scared. She just looked confused. "The pile must have been unstable," she said, trying to sound calm. "It just tipped over on its own." I didn't believe her for a second. How could a pile of toys fall by itself while I was sleeping? That night, my dad was completely finished with the nonsense. He walked me to my room, tucked me in, and then did something strange. He walked to the closet, closed the heavy sliding door, and locked it from the outside using a thick piece of wire that he twisted tight so it couldn't slide open. "There," he said, standing back with his hands on his hips. "Now, no one can get out, and nothing can fall. Go to sleep and don't come downstairs again." He went back downstairs. The house was silent. I lay in bed, waiting. I didn't want to close my eyes. I stared at the closet door. The moonlight from my window cut across the room like a cold silver knife. Everything was deathly still. An hour passed. My eyes felt heavy, but I fought to stay awake. Then the sound started. It wasn't a toy this time. The sound came from the closet. The wire lock on the door started to bend and pull against the wood. I held my breath. My chest hurt because I was trying so hard not to make a single sound. The closet door ripped open with massive, violent force. The wire snapped and hit the floor with a loud thwack. I froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. A figure stepped out of the deep, black darkness of the closet. It stood on the platform, looking down at my bed. The pale moonlight hid its face. It wasn't a monster. It was a man. He looked filthy and thin, wearing torn, gray clothes. He had been living in the attic, hiding in that closet for who knows how long, watching us. He looked right at me with hollow, hungry eyes. I didn't think, I just screamed. It was a loud, sharp, terrified sound that filled the whole house. The man jumped down from the closet. He didn't even look at me again. He ran past my bed, out the bedroom door, and down the stairs. I heard the front door bang open and then the sound of his footsteps running into the dark night. My mom came running up the stairs, screaming my name. My dad followed her, shouting. They saw me shaking in my bed, unable to talk. My dad ran outside to chase the man, but the street was empty. The police came, but they never found him. They said he had been living in the attic, climbing into the closet to watch us while we slept or to find food. We moved out of that house a week later. I am older now, but I still cannot sleep in a room with a closet. Even now, if I see a door that is cracked open just a little bit, my heart starts to beat fast, and I remember the man in the moonlight, waiting in the dark.